Hi there. Hi there. I'm Clifford Bates, and this is just an announcement of, well, what is this? Our 300th subscriber. We're over 300 subscribers. We have a week or so ago. I think now we're 201. So, oh, yeah, rah, rah. Now it's been a year, so a couple years since I did the announcement of my 100th or 200th. So slow has been like a snail crawl. Uh, Currently, what we're doing is now doing my Spirit of the Laws reading group. We're going about this a little slower than the other ones. I'm doing a book at a time, doing twice a week. So I'm actually pretty busy doing things, and you could always need more help with this. But we're going to continue this. I might add during this week, it's posting Mondays and Wednesdays. I hope to do more posting, smaller things when I have chance or time. So this is it. This is oh my God, we got this going. Yay, 300 people, rah, rah. Again, it'd be nice if more people share about this and get this interesting. There's nothing much to say more than this. This is a live event. I had a live event a second ago. It went bad because of the problems. And the problem was that the wrong camera. Oops. I hit, oh my God, the wrong camera. No. So therefore, that's it. I hope everything is okay. This is a short stream just saying, hey there, this is how you can notify people that this is going on. People have ideas for things to be done. I want to do something short, a couple short ones too, some more short things. We'll see it. Hope everything's okay. And so that's it. Short. Short. Again, 300 people subscribing. Yay. I hope more people will subscribe and we can get this growing a little more. So please pass it on. People might give some suggestions how to do this. I think I might make a Friday session, a live session. That could be something that could be done. But I don't know what to do. We'll see what we can do. So, okay. That's it. You have ideas, put the ideas below for me, what we can do, and we'll try to do something here, okay? On that, one of the things I'm going to plan doing is we're going to finishing Spirit of Laws. During the Spirit of Laws, I might actually do a couple things like my another Schmidt piece that was very well received. I think I was shocked how Schmidt was received. I might do one of the Schmidt works, small Schmidt work. I still really would like to do what I've been interested about Kojève's A Notion of Authority, his little book Notion of Authority, which I think is on par with Schmidt, useful for people. Another thing I might do is redo the Machiavelli, because some people say, oh, Machiavelli needs to be done again because you didn't put the book there. I'm kind of adverse to doing it again because it's never like doing a thing again. It feels like you're going back and continuing. I'd like to do maybe Rousseau's Social Contract, but the addition of Social Contract is kind of problematic. And the other thing I'd like to try to do is maybe even Aristotle's Ethics. See the cough? It's like question there from Nicola. Hey there, will you also cover modern political theories? Like, what do you mean by selectorate theory? Could you he's saying selectorate theory, that's kind of an odd thing. What does selectorate theory mean? You mean the selection theories of a selection of officials? This is one of the things. So you have a question about there, and I think, what do you mean by modern political theory? Because modern political theory means literally modern political theory begins in 1500. Machiavelli's modern. Hobbes. I did Locke. That's modern political theory. The modern period begins in in modern political thought really begins in let's say the 1500s, 1600s, okay, Renaissance, and these ideas. This is the birth of the modern. So I've been doing modern political theories. I've lately been doing ancients, and right now my Montesquieu. This is mid-modern thought. This is than most modern thought. But what do you mean contemporary political theory? And actually, even Schmitt isn't contemporary anymore. Schmitt is kind of like at the turn of the 20th century. And to be honest, contemporary political theory is kind of overdone. I mean, you have ideologies and the ideologists doing things, and that's kind of boring. Honestly, that's I even had a student come into class talking about Kurt Doolittle. I was shocked that a student asked about Kurt Doolittle's. I actually have to share the attitude of my buddy. Not my buddy. I know him by friends, and we're not really buddy close, but someone I kind of like as a YouTube personality, which is Jean-Francois Garrepé, and Garrepé has kind of destroyed Doolittle, I think, in a great manner, in a sense. Totally. I think Doolittle is kind of a fraud in this sense. So then he goes, Nick Cole says, do contemporary theory. I mean, doing contemporary theories. Well, I mean, what are contemporary theories in this sense? I mean, it's hard to do contemporary theory because much of contemporary thought is kind of the deconstruction of modern political thought. And you can't really, I mean, just to talk about like people like Foucault, Derrida, or even someone like, name somebody, even like someone like Habermas, or people like Rawls, even these kind of guys. To talk about them without knowing the tradition is kind of like a really sad thing, because they're reacting to things. They're reacting to things. You don't understand the depth of the tradition, and today people don't really know the sources of why contemporary thought is working. The political theory works the way it is. There's different trends of modern contemporary political theory. There's the analytical, what we call analytical political theory in that sense, analytical thought. This is kind of more like, coming from analytical philosophy, which deals with things like this logical positivism and logical structures of government, where we want to understand things at the level of logic. And there is this kind of like Rawlsian, and it's not on one side Rawlsian on social justice. You have then kind of a libertarian argument on the other side with Hospers, and not Hospers, but what's the name? Anarchy, State, Utopia. My brain is just blanked. I know Anarchy, State, Utopia, famous guy. Okay, I'm blanking. Okay, whatever. These are the two sides of the same coin in that sense. The same coin. What exactly is meant by this? This is why I have to be careful here. That when we talk about contemporary political theory, we can see contemporary political theory at one level of this analytical tradition, which is kind of a rejection that came up in the late 1960s, early 70s, as a kind of in debates in philosophy, very philosophy-centered political philosophy in that sense. That emerged as kind of, in a way, the questions of economics. This is tied to the whole concern of policy choice and economic choice, but what to do about, justice in a sense. Institutionally structured. See, this is the problem. Political philosophy focuses on justice, often focuses on questions of distribution. Now, that's one aspect of political theory, the question of justice. And this is what more political philosophy in that sense. But are we concerned about institutions of power? So that's another school of thought, right? That's the other side that we go from this analytical school, which deals with economics, kind of in questions of justice and the question of what is distributive economics and what is distributive. Nozick, that's Robert Nozick, Anarchy, State, Utopia. You have these famous debates in analytical theory about communitarian versus liberal understandings, right? This famous debate within the 1970s and 80s in political philosophy. Then there is, like we say, what we call power based. This comes from the Nietzsche students of Nietzsche and the tradition of this power. Again, this is where we have kind of the culmination of modern political thought, where modern political thought achieves itself in the state and it seems to deconstruct in that sense, and the problems of deconstruction of the state power in that sense. this leads us to many directions. We get Marxists. We get a Marxist critique and of this, which is still within the framework. The Marxists are still within the framework of modern political thought, even though they kind of break it, kind of badly. They kind of operate within a certain way. There is these radicals who are doing this. In fact, you have we can argue that the radicals happen at the peak of the birth of the 19th century, right? The liberal radicals, that emerge and radicalize these things. Sometimes they double down into more liberal, but then sometimes they led to revolutionary trajectories in the 19th century political thinking. This leads us to questions of the tradition of liberalism in that sense. But again, contemporary political. I mean, what do you mean by contemporary political theory? Because it's a big C, and a lot of it depends on the issue and stake. In the 1950s, in the 1950s, we came to an end of political. Actually, 1920s, 1930s. We can say we even had an end of political philosophy or political theory because we ended up with ideology. Everything's an ideology. Ideology this, ideology that. Everything was ideology, and therefore everything had a focus of ideology. And this is still alive and well on the internet. Everyone takes these tests about their ideology, what their ideology is. They're kind of like personality tests for political structures. This is not political theory. This is just preferencing, ideological preferencing. And this is this is the reduction that political science took in the 1950s, the 1930s, 40s, and 60s. That saw an idea, political thought as nothing being as a preference function, as an idea of preferencing. That this is your beliefs, this is your preferencing function. This is going to be the methods of how you're going to politically preference. And ideology became the methods of preferencing, and therefore you had they used the famous Tocqueville dichotomy between economic liberty and political liberty. But the problem with this assumes too much. It ignores political structure. We ignored the question of political structure. We ignored the question of formulation of political systems. We ignore a lot in the question of political thought. So what is meant by political thought? That is a big question. And I think this is why we have to understand that contemporary political science political thought itself is in many ways a rejection, trying to escape. It's kind of a runaway escape from political science in that sense. We want to get back, and I'm the kind of person who wants to return to political theories about political things, about political phenomena, how to understand political phenomena in the final sense. And that therefore there is a connection between, let's say, the ideas we have or the concepts we have and the way to understand political things. So, thank you for your question. But you asked what selector theory. I can go do this. I'll just go check it up. Hold on, I can do a little research. Selector theory, SELECTORAT theory. Okay, selector theory. Wikipedia says selector theory is a theory of government that studies the interactive relationships between political survival strategies and economic realities. It first depended on logical political survival by Bruce DeMasca of New York University. So this is when does that happen? Bruce DeMasca, this is all analytical. Bruce DeMasca is what? This is 2003, okay. The famous book is Logic of Political Survival. And The Dictator's Handbook. Oh, okay, I know this, okay. Yeah, this is kind of what the new political science. This is very superficial, that stuff. It shows kind of like the idea. I can even point this out. I don't mind if I can share a screen. I'll do it. I don't know if I can share a screen. Hold on. Let me just do. Can I? I'm live streaming, so let's see if I can do something. Hold on. Edit. No, I can't edit. No. Cancel. Sorry, I can't edit something. Let me just put this in the chat. If you want to think, this is actually not a theory. This is what I call ideas that are really political science. This is very much political sciencey in this stuff. So I think in many ways I misunderstood your thing in that sense here. This is selectorate theory in that sense. This is dealing with the problems of. No, I'm not. I'm just using YouTube, so I can't do something fun. Hold on. Manage. No, the camera's on. Can't manage. Hold on. Pull out dash. Pop up a dashboard. Hold on. I'm just trying to kind of give a thing. Hold on. Okay, no. We got current view is 1. So no. We're dying. Okay. I probably scared off him because saying what I said. But I want to go back to select theory. Select theory. He goes dictatorship handbook. I read that. That was one of these books that I read in the early thousands. Everyone says, "Oh, it's a good book." It's an okay book. The theory is known for use of contentious variabilities, classifier regimes, right? And he's going to do this. Regimes are classified by a spectrum of coalition sides. So coalitions, okay, I understand this idea. And he says the famous structures of things. This is just model systems of things like this. He has payouts and leaders. This is game theory extraordinary. Okay, this is what I call the new models of game theory. And that's, we're going to understand game theory, then you have to understand the father of game theory, which is not Newman, the philosopher of game theory itself, but the application of game theory in political things. What is it? The famous economic Downs. Anthony Downs is famous. The economy of the economy the application of economics to politics. Anthony Downs, the economic theory of democracy. Used economic models of economic rationality to explain democratic behavior. This also goes into the work of someone like Buchanan and Tullock is the calculus of consent, and their famous work on this, the calculus of consent, and any of the game theory models. So therefore, what is selection theory is actually just a kind of variety within game theory to understand how political actors select their behavior situation. But that's basically getting us to the question of from the origins of the system all the way back to Machiavelli and Aristotle, the question of the elites and this takes us back to all these people ultimately bring us back to the origins of someone like Aristotle, not Plato, but Aristotle more, and then someone like Machiavelli, which looks us to the questions of what formulates how we select, how do we get decisions in this situation, how political actors make decisions in this situation. Well, I have another hi from someone who's someone on Facebook. I'm not a good Facebook. I'm always afraid of bots. Okay, we've had bots attack us on Facebook recently, and I tend to be suspicious of people. This again, selection theory, this idea of selector theory is kind of within game theory, looking at this way of how we understand and make decisions, how political systems and political structures make things. And of course, this is classical political science, not really political theory in this sense. There's not really ideas here. There's theories in the more limited sense of the term that we're having a theory here. See, the dictatorship does. Yeah, exactly. This is what I mean. They're relying on Machiavelli in ways that they don't understand. I think that's why it isn't my YouTube. Oh no, it shouldn't be. I didn't say kids. I said no kids. So that's a weird thing. Okay, I don't know what's going on there. I explicitly said this is not for kids. So therefore, that's kind of a thing. So, now, this is, to be honest with you, I'm not going to complain. I just admit that I didn't hear the term selection theory. Okay, that's why I had to look at it for a second, saying, "Oh, that's what they call that." I know the dictatorship handbook. I've used it to teach when I've taught a course on. I don't particularly like the title. I think it's it's a cheesy title, and I think it does something I think is problematic, in the sense that it's very Machiavellian. In the sense, it's what he's trying to talk about is why actors decide. This leads us to I think to understand I'm skeptical here of this in that sense. I think we want to understand autocratic regimes. In a time when democratic regimes and democratic systems are at its most critically need of thoughtful reflection, we're embracing autocratic regimes. People want to look at autocratic. Oh, they look at China, how great it is. But it's not. It's a facade that if you push it, it only works to some degrees, and it's only by the exercise of power that it works. Oh, but you can say this is true about liberal democracies. No, liberal democracies and democratic systems require that the ground be held together, and that if you put too much power, if you expect too much of state and government, the system starts breaking down. Okay, and this is the nature of any system in that sense. Whereas autocratic states require the power to hold together. Therefore, once they lose power, everything collapses. In a democratic system, there is an edifice there already, a structure, something there, and that what's broken is the state may be broken, and the political system might be corrupted, but the society is still somewhat there, unless people try to break it down. And that's the problem of this section. So you have to understand that if you have to have the connection between state and society, state and structures, these ideas, and therefore things like I'm a little suspicious of these the dictatorship handbook, because it ignores regimes. It ignores that there's fundamental difference of societies. And certain societies don't have the capacity to be democratic or things like this because there's not a coherent societal network where there's enough social trust and social solidarity there. And the only thing that holds them together, these dispersed groups who don't have anything in common, is the bound of a state power. That without the bound of the state power holding them together, everything falls apart. Look what happened to Libya. Look, it even happens in some parts. In other words, they revert to tribes who have nothing in common. In other words, you have to build the commonality of a society, a body politic, that sees each other as a common. They share a common. And that's a very important thing that you have to build. And I actually think this is what the dictatorship book kind of misses. It misses it thinks that the state function alone can solve all the problems. And I'm not so sure that's true. I think this is the problem. I think state and society are synonymous concepts. They're Siamese twins. That the state needs a society and society needs a state. And that the state without a society, with a proper society, is not going to work. It's always going to be dysfunctional. And a society that has a bad state can survive, but it won't be as efficient as it could be. And I think that's how we should understand these things. I'm only chatting here because I'm celebrating my 300 subscription. Yay! And I see I have only one person online there, and I probably lost. I had two for a second. And they say you can't sign on because of child stuff. I don't have a child stuff. It's not 18. So I don't know what's going on. Learn more. Hold on. Yeah. Okay, whatever. I'm not monetized, so I can't get money. I can't do super chats. Yeah. Life sucks. Well, I mean, let's talk about, this is not, that is an interesting thing about that. That's more political science, selective theory. It's all game theory, payouts like this. I've dealt with some of this myself, looking at Easton's models. I think this is a lot of Machiavelli, yes, but also the Pareto, Vincent Pareto, and Genovese Mosca, and the Italian school. I think they are very important here because they explain the question of how societal structures and elite structures emerge and how these things behave. And I think to understand the nature of these political systems and how these operate, game theory works better with the structure of understanding. Because, to understand, I mean, where does game theory get most of its understanding? It's from economics, and one of the principal fathers of economics, 19th century, the 20th century, was someone like Pareto. That's where we get, Pareto plays a very important role in economics. He's as much a father of sociology as he's a father of economic thinking. And game theory is applicable. It's an economic model using economic rationality, but then working on a weird. It broadens it by utility concepts. So okay, that's how we do it. So that's enough rambling today. I think I meant I've okay. Will you cover people like Mel? Okay, yeah, okay. I have two things. Mel, I would love to do something about Mel. My former student, who now colleague here, has written his book on a book on Bradford. Listen, I have a picture of my pal. This is my Mel. This is my buddy. This is Mel that I took of him when I was at Dallas before leaving Dallas. I would try to do more live streams. Yeah, I can do that. That's not a problem. I would try. I just have to have an arrangement to make sure people are there. I just needed time to do this. I'm doing it today. To announce my 200 subscribers, 300 subscribers, 300 finally. I found out last couple of days ago. I was like, oh, finally. But Mel, Mel is a hard book to crack because I think Mel is, he's too close. It's someone I knew personally, and I really can't really. I understand. I respect his thought. I can't separate the person and his thought. And this is why I dislike many of the people who advance his name. Mel was badly treated by the neocons, but he had never had ill will to them. Paul Gottfried has more fury about how the neocons treated Mel than Mel ever did. Mel was a gentleman. Mel was a wonderful man. Mel never had he didn't take these political fights personally. He never let it. His character of his soul was such that he would never do it. He died too young. Yes, it's tragedy, but as a person, I've always respected him as a good human being. And as a thinker, he was Mel had a deficiency. Mel was a student of rhetoric. He understood rhetoric. He was a student of the poet Donald Davidson, not the philosopher Donald Davidson, but the Southern poet at Nashville. He has a doctoral degree in literature at Nashville. Okay, very much under the influence of the Southern agrarians and the future poets, like someone Davidson. He was writing his dissertation on Faulkner on the question of this, which in many ways got him into kind of a competition with Robert Penn Warren, who in his Yucatán County kind of used Bradford's. There's a relation. Who's influenced who there? Bradford's dissertation was done earlier than Faulkner. Penn Warren's Yucatán County. He was a master Faulkner scholar, master of Southern literature, but he was also a student of rhetoric and a student of ballads and things like this. I studied with ballads. I only spent 2 years as a student at Dallas getting my master's degree, but I spent a lot of time with Mel, and we became friends. So I was, and he died in my senior year when I was at my last year at getting my doctorate. I was already an adult. I was always a sort of person. I've already had a life already, and I went back to graduate studies. So I didn't have. He wasn't like a. He wasn't. I was not a young person when I met him. So, but he was always chastising me for saying, "Oh, you may be too old for school," and things like this. But Mel, as a thinker, his background of literature, he was because he was a student of rhetoric and a student of texts. He was a very much careful of things, and I think as a student of rhetoric, he understood debate better than much of more of the Straussians in this sense. This is why Bradford did a much better job looking at the constitutional debates, as did the historian Forrest McDonald. with the constitutional debates than Straussians do. Straussians are overthink and over importantize individuals to some way that, yes, individuals are important, but there's also kind of the rhetoric involved, the rhetoric of discourse, and the way discourse operates at a level of the institution that where the discourse is being done and how it's being done and the collective aspect of it. So I'm going to respond to Mel. Mel's writing is fantastic about certain understanding, the understanding of community. He's not contrary to those who want to say that he's a champion of the Confederate cause. He thought the Confederate, he was a son of the Confederacy in that sense. He's not going to despise his heritage, who he is, and remembering who we are. One of his books. You don't despise who you are. If you despise who you are, you're not going to survive. So being a Southerner, being a Texan, and from that area, Southwest, he's not going. His family's tied to this tradition, but also being a Texan and being a Southwesterner, he was not a fan of the plantation system in that sense. He's not a defender of the antecedent South, this romanticized South. He is in favor of the yeoman farmer. This is he's not a Jeffersonian. You have to always understand this Jeffersonian farmer argument versus Hamilton. Jefferson is a complex person. But he's not wrong. Jefferson is not wrong about the need of the idea of the farmers and this idea. And Hamilton goes too far in commerce. This idea that there is this tension in American economic political thought in this sense. Bradford saw the importance of local communities, local identity, local things, and that this is the foundation of our system. The American system is based on the states, and the states are founded and rested on local communities. That once you make everything into a mass society, mass structure, then self-government and self-rule becomes impossible. So therefore, there was the attempts of people to impose equality from above, destroy and impose an teleological order, as Mel used to call it, would only bring reckless destruction of these communities. Okay, so but at the same time, he's not a blank slate states' rights either. He sees the limits of states' rights. He thinks the Union is good. He even argued, he joked about me. He thought, he said that the assassination was a big mistake because a dead Lincoln was everything the radicals needed. The radicals needed a dead Lincoln in order to destroy the Southern way of life, the Southern culture. And that it would have been a live Lincoln being president would be a much weaker candidate and also would prevent radical reconstruction or radical reform. A live Lincoln probably would not have agreed to the 14th Amendment. We would not have gotten the 14th Amendment. Only the dead body of Lincoln gets you the 14th Amendment. You get the 13th Amendment with a live Lincoln, but you don't get a 14th Amendment with a live Lincoln. I think Lincoln would have been much too hesitant to agree to the vicious conditions in the first provisions of the 14th Amendment. It would have been a much more limited conditions, and states would have preserved many more of their rights. Because remember, it's through the 14th Amendment we get most of our the radicalization and nationalization of the United States. It ends the First Republic. So, okay, yeah, so that's a Mel Bradford. For people who want to know about Mel, M.E. Bradford. Mel is a great guy. Now, people say, well, you're Mel, how can you be a student of the Straussians? And because I've always thought that, I studied with the Straussians. They were better political theorists. The traditional conservatives were horrible. They succumbed to ideology. Kendall was dead. If Kendall was alive, maybe I could have studied with Kendall. But at the same time, then the Straussians always do me suspicious. Oh, you're a Bradford person. Oh, you're one of those guys. I'm a Yankee. Okay, I'm a Yankee. I'm not a Southerner. My ancestors fought for the Union. Okay, so it was always irony of kind of a situation that I like someone like Mel. I had sympathy. I joke. Like Richard Chamberlain, who was at Little Round Top. Colonel Chamberlain of the Maine Regiment. In later life, he was a very much defender of Southerners' Confederate rights and Confederate victories. And and the things we've done now to deperson the Confederacy, and this is a recipe for vengeance and a recipe for vindictiveness that the people who have unleashed this will come to regret doing this, because the things that they do now can be undone. Imagine if in a future time that we decide to eliminate all the civil rights heroes, like MLK, bye. Oh, MLK was a woman molester, a violent woman molester who couldn't keep his prick in his in his pants. Okay, so oh my God, you can destroy the civil rights movement as much by this cancel culture as you do it. So, and if you're going to allow everyone to create and recreate history by what they want, this is totalitarian and is very fundamental for us. And the first victims of every revolution is the revolutionaries. That's anyone who knows this reality of the situation. So, okay, now I'm more longer than I wanted to be. I'm 30 minutes into this. This is supposed to be a 5-minute thing. It's not like much longer. I should do live streams more. I understand this. Okay. Give me a topic. Give me a set of topics and questions, and I'll do it. Okay, we'll do it. Today I did something on select theory and M.E. Bradford. That's fine. You give me a selection of things to do, and I will do it. Okay. Well, take care, and I'll let you guys go. And have a good day, and try not to get in trouble. Okay. Okay. Bye-bye. Take care.